Gabriel Nwajiaku's journey from a Taekwondo black belt in South Carolina to a senior information security analyst is a narrative of resilience and adaptability. His time as an Army veteran laid the groundwork of a life characterized by overcoming challenges. Listening to Gabriel's insights provides a unique opportunity to learn how discipline, creativity, and dedication to service can forge a remarkable career in technology, making his story a must listen for anyone aspiring to make a meaningful impact in the tech industry. Gabriel, thank you, bro, for being on Tech's New Black.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
That is cool. I thought I needed a Grammy with that one.
That's hilarious. That's super hilarious. Look, man, I'm really excited about this conversation. I was kind of going through just kind of some of your info and your experiences and things that you've done, and I'm like, man, it's going to be really helpful. One of the things that we've noticed, and y'all let us know in the comments if, I guess if y'all kind of know why, but one of the things we've noticed is that whenever we interview people that are in the cybersecurity space, particularly people that have like actual like gems and stuff to drop, like those episodes actually do the best. And it was really strange to us because we don't intentionally like try to, because we could just interview people in cybersecurity to make our numbers on YouTube much higher. But overall, we're like, no, we still like to provide diversity of conversations for people. But yeah, that's one thing that we've noticed. Y'all let us know in the comments if y'all know why. Maybe because, I don't know, maybe cybersecurity is really, really popular and it's a very high search term. I can't really understand why, but at the end of the day, it's something that we've noticed, and we've noticed that our audience loves it a lot, and it's helped a lot of them get into tech. So yeah, bro, so thanks so much for being on, dude.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, bro, so look, man, we got a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and jump into it.
All right.
All right, so you are one of our few guests who went to college for tech. Mm-hmm. And as someone who didn't go to college, being myself, I didn't go to college and I didn't go to college getting tech. What was your college experience like, and what challenges helped prepare you for your success in cybersecurity?
Yeah, going to college was a matter of galvanizing a network base, because I think the issue was, since I didn't intend to actually study anything in the tech sphere until after I got into the industry, I just felt like going to college, the value of that was specifically who I'd be able to interact with and from that experience. But the knowledge itself is very malleable. I don't think you have to go to college to be successful. I think it's more so of a prerequisite for bigger goals, more entrepreneurially, because you might not find the same audience, depending on where your location is, that has the interest in the niche of tech that you're in. So if you do have the ability to go, which the Army afforded me, I just took that as a networking opportunity to more specifically fine-tune where I would grow in my cybersecurity career. But I really feel like it's negligible. I feel like nothing really beats the discipline and the intention of just getting your foot in first and then learning from experience.
All right, so galvanized, malleable, negligible. Those are the vocabulary words for all of us to learn.
Oh, man. So
No, you're totally good. You're totally good, bro. No, bro. Yo, shouts out to you, bro. That's amazing vocabulary. Look, y'all let us know in the comments, like, because I mean, I think stuff like that is fire. Is dope to hear, just hear intellect and to hear. I mean, man, really, the way you describe, like, you know, you kind of made a joke about when I read off your bio that we were able to make for you. Shouts out to ChatGPT for helping us with that. But it's like, bro, the way you communicated that, I was like, yo, this is epic. This is eloquent, the way you communicate. I'm like, shoot, no wonder you getting jobs in tech. The way you talking like this during interviews. Shoot, you got an interviewer looking up words and stuff, like, okay, all right. No, bro, that's super fire. So I know you went through some different challenges.
I did, yeah.
What were some things that like happened to you, even if there's something like you could really highlight or anything you can think of? Because oftentimes we a lot of our community, people go through things, but they don't really grow through things. Yeah. So they have experiences and they'll share it as a story, and maybe they'll learn their lesson that'll make them jaded, but they don't really learn a lesson that makes them just really elevate. It makes them grow and be better in the future. And so what are like some things that you went through in college and your college experience that you feel like really matured you or expedited your maturation process. Y'all see me trying to use big words now. That really did that for you to really allow you to be successful in tech.
Yeah. So my parents are first generation Nigerian immigrants. So they had the very archetypal like lawyer, doctor, engineer mindset for us.
Yeah.
You know, so what edified my college experience was failing.
You said it was what?
Failing. Just completely. Like I had such a, and this isn't even something I'm proud of, but I feel like this is a safe space. I had like a 0.5 GPA my first semester, because my first time being in college was the first time I was able to experience like true independence.
Yeah.
So, and I had a litany of situations that I never thought I would be in that challenged me physically and emotionally. It was the first time I ever got jumped, first time I was in jail.
Yo, in college?
First time I got,
Dang,
yeah.
They gang
and so
in
it was
college.
like all at the same time. And so,
But so you said you got jumped, you went to jail, and what else?
Jail. And then at the same time, it was the first time I ever like smoked or anything. So it was like all compounded at the same time. And I just felt like a failure. I felt like a failure because like I'd always been well academically in school. I think in high school I had the highest SAT score for that quarter.
Man.
So I always felt like, you know, like no matter what I got myself in, I could succeed at some level.
Yeah.
But that's the first time I had to look at myself and be like, yo, I've always looked at myself as my accomplishments, and I don't feel like I accomplished anything.
Man.
So I had to build a value at that time.
Yeah.
And then also to face my parents with these high expectations. And that's the first time I see my parents so disappointed that they weren't mad, which was scary because it was like they actually believed that this was my value now because this is what I've shown them. So I felt really, 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 really bad. Dang. And what helped me was, I guess, like a better understanding of like what I actually want for myself. A lot of school was an obligation for my parents. Like, I'll go here because y'all told me to go here. I'll do this because it makes me look like a good person.
Yeah.
But very few things I did for myself.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I grew from that experience by understanding how I felt more than how I looked. Because prior to a bad time, I always cared about how I looked more than how I felt. Yeah. Like if people feel like I look okay, I'm gonna just carry it on and act like I'm okay.
Bro,
you
that's
know?
deep.
But like spiritually, I felt horrible.
Bro.
And my circumstances brought that out of me. And I think that was the catalyst for me going into the military. Yeah. And then really getting into the more faith-based part of my life. Because before then, I went to church, but like I wasn't nobody that I would say like, oh, I'm a strong Christian. I was just a guy. And the hell I caught in the military really showed me like what faith really looks like to me. Yeah. And gave me a stronger idea of things that were just like words and definitions beforehand.
Man, that's so deep. Even at that bar, and I really wanted to have this bar resonate with people, or at least have people sit with it for a minute, like where you shared that you did things that you said like looked good but didn't necessarily feel good to you. Oh, yeah. And it's like, and you know it's crazy. I feel like so often, and maybe this is all of us. Let me know in the comments. But I know especially as men, very often we do things that like we don't really think about how do I actually feel about this, but it's okay, how does this make me look, you know, Absolutely. As a man. I think we see often, especially on social media, you know, women talk a lot about, you know, things like, you know, them loving themselves, them being proud of themselves, them caring about how they feel, what makes them happy, you know, doing things for their own joy. And it's like we don't see those types of conversations with men. We're just very, you know, kind of, and it's to the point of the next conversation we're about to shift into. We're kind of very militant minded, where we're like, okay, what purpose am I serving? You know, am I accomplishing things? Do I look as if I am serving a purpose of value? And then we put the idea or the notion of feeling completely to the side. People ask me oftentimes, they're like, Cyrus, like, you know, how are you doing? And one thing a few people have pointed out to me is that my response to how am I doing or how am I feeling, I immediately started addressing my recent accomplishments. I'm like, oh man, I've been doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And they're like, bro, you did not tell me how you're doing. And I'm just like, and man, interesting enough, I was sitting down with a homeboy, Tay on Tech. He's a cybersecurity.
Oh yeah, I know him.
Yeah, I was literally kicking with him 2 days ago in Dallas. And you know, he and I know each other, but we have more of a surface level relationship. But it's gotten deeper than that. With time, I'm literally wearing a Rolex that I bought off of him. But I met up with him at a bar, and we sat down, and there was a few people with us, a few people talking. Then a few of the people went and kind of scattered away for a minute. And we sat down, and the first question he asked me was about, he was like, bro, like, how are you doing? And I could tell the way he looked at me, it wasn't like a casual. He really was like, bro, look, I see I'm doing all this, you doing all this. He's like, bro, how are you doing? And then he just started opening up and talking about God. And I was like, bro, I didn't even know you was out there. You know, and he's talking about reading the word and saying how he's trying to get back to those things. And so anyway, I think it's a beautiful space that we're being in where, yeah, we want to be accomplished, we want to do great things, but we really are like, okay, how's our relationship with God? How are these things? So anyway, let's transition over to this conversation. So how has working in tech impacted your faith over the years? And how has working in tech challenged or grown your faith?
Oh, yeah. Getting into tech was a real active test of my faith, because before then I always took faith as like just what you called just like doing something that you did for God. Like, I just had faith going to church or whatever. But like, I understand that faith is like whatever is in you that makes you drive towards a destination when you have no hope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who has faith in yourself, if you get a poor doctor's diagnosis, then you'll actively do everything in your power to ignore it and make it go towards like stabilizing your health, because that's what you have faith in.
Yeah.
And so for myself, I realized that like as a human being, I'm not someone who just accepts defeat. I'd rather somebody who like, you're gonna have to just defeat me straight up. Like, because like I personally value my life experience so much to where like it's really hard for me to accept things that go against what I feel passionate about, to be honest. So tech challenged me because I had no tech experience at the time I started. I started around 2019, and I was just trying to get an IT help desk job.
Yeah.
And I kept on telling people I was in the military, so I have some transferable skills. And then a lot of the people in Austin were like, that's nice, we'll reach out. And they didn't reach out. And so first week don't matter, first month don't matter, couple months in it stings.
Yeah.
You know, and so this is the point where you could either fall back on what you've been doing, like how I was with DoorDash and other side jobs, or you could double down. So a stimulus check came in, the last one. I remember I was like, I had a homie, a really close, almost like a brother to me this day. Like, I think his Instagram name is Big Dog J. And he came in and he reached out. He was like, brother, use your stimulus check, take the certification. I promise you, get your security plus, you get in. So I was skeptical at the time, because like I was still doing engineering. I was like, I don't want to waste this $600, and nobody's even been talking to me for the last couple months. But I did it more as like, I didn't have faith in it. I was like, I didn't have faith, but I was going to do it for him. So that way if it don't work, I could say I did it and it didn't work.
Exactly.
So I did it, took the test, passed, immediately got my first IT help desk job.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so that built a lot in me. I just moved to Texas, had no family there, just broke up with my girl. So like everything was going left. And it's the middle of the pandemic, so it's not like I'm going out talking to people. This is all me in my head by myself.
Yeah.
So I'm in a place where I'm fighting depression. And I prayed, I was like, God, you know, if you give me a way to make a decent living to myself, to where I can survive by myself without any support, I promise that I'm gonna never try and challenge you again. You know? And so I said that before taking the test. I expected to fail, but I expect to at least get reimbursed from my bro, since he's the one who kind of like told me about
exactly.
it. And I passed, and I got the job. And after I got the job, I took that job super seriously, because I was like, this is what I prayed about. Now it's no longer going to be lack of experience. And so that's when I started realizing that tech wasn't as like cookie cutter as I was making it. Because beforehand, tech was just a bunch of software developers, and that's it. And I started realizing that like, oh no, it's not. Like, there's so many other niches. There's sales, there's GRC, there's incident response, there's all different sectors of it. And from there, like, I just kept on going on YouTube. I deep dive. That's like, I think I saw your first video you ever put on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
For this. Yeah. And I saw you, I saw Tay on Tech for the first time. I saw Simone Bees.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even know that you, because obviously I knew you were familiar with us, that you're here, but I didn't even know like that it kind of goes back.
The reason I galvanized to y'all so much is because y'all were black and y'all were all people who were familiar with being told no at a tender point.
Yeah.
You know, with Simone, like she was really familiar with being told no.
Yeah.
And like with you, like your whole story about like, you know, transitioning after like, you know, taking the course and like going from basically like me, like DoorDash, trying to figure yourself out and everything and getting into it. That's why I was like, bro, I'm not gonna doubt myself.
Yeah.
I'm not. Like I'm gonna keep on going. And so that it just became like almost like a spiritual thing. I remember at church, they're like, what's your ministry? And I thought that meant you had to be like a deacon or something.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, like Techisthenewblack, that's a ministry.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
now
is.
you're speaking to people who, when we pray, we normally think about a white Jesus.
Yeah.
And white apostles and a white God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when other black people who aren't in our community hear about this stuff, they see a white guy or an Indian guy.
Yeah.
And they don't feel like they're gonna fit in.
Yeah.
So when they see us, now they actually care because they know it's real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's something significant about that because like, bro, even after you're dead and gone, even if you lose all your money, I promise you one thing that's gonna last the legacy is how you make people feel with this platform.
Yeah.
Because for me, it really changed my life. I don't know what I'll be doing. Like I was somebody who's kind of like an edge character. Like I was a by any means kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I could have literally justified a lot of less than legal ways to make a living. And seeing this gave me the opportunity, like, no, because if anything else, I could reach out to them and get some support.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I feel like, you know, it's almost like reparations, man. Like that stuff really, it gives healing. Because it's like, now I can believe in it. I can believe it. I don't feel like if I'm applying to these jobs and it's not working, that it's me. I feel like it might be this location, but I can go apply in Atlanta. I can go apply in Chicago. I can go apply in, you know, Dallas and still get an opportunity. So it gives that motivation people don't have because not everybody has a family or a support structure to tell them like, hey, keep going.
Yo,
you know?
Man, that's so good. I think it's really a lot to be said about how even though your faith was so low, how you still moved out of a certain element of obedience. Like you still, even though your faith was low, you still put your actions with a little bit of faith that you had. Just as, you know, the scripture says, you know, faith without works is dead.
Yes.
And just you put in some action for, I mean, we see times in the Bible, in the scriptures, where there are different times where people did something out of obedience, even though they didn't really think anything was going to come out of it. They were just like, all right, I'm just still going to be obedient. And how like God blessed them just off their obedience. You know, even if their faith was low or almost just not even existing at all, he still blessed them off of their obedience. And so that's just so fire to hear that you were obedient and you were like, hey, look, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I don't think it's gonna work out, but you know, hey, let me just go ahead and do it. And then how it ended up working out for you. Let us know in the comments. I mean, if that blessed you, you know, definitely, you know, leave a like, because of course it helps this video get more exposure. The algorithm shares it with more people, and then this interview will be heard by more people and can bless more people. And but also really the main thing is like definitely comment. Let us know any experience you've had recently in your life where God might have tested your faith, or your faith was tested in some type of way, and then you moved, you know, you actually did an action even though your faith was low, and you know, getting blessed out of it. And so we definitely want to hear from y'all. If you're interested in breaking into a 6-figure career in tech or scaling to over $500,000 in tech, then this video is for you. If not, then just swipe away. But I was able to break into the tech industry October 2021. And in my first year, I scaled to over $500,000 in tech. My second year, I was able to gross over $1 million. More importantly, I was able to freely help over 600 people break into 6-figure tech careers as well and scale further in the industry. Now, the number one question I've been getting from people is, how was I able to do this? How was I able to make so much money? How was I able to also help as many people as I've been able to help? Well, aside from doing coaching calls and trying to spend a whole bunch of time helping people individually, I've decided to create the Tech Rich program, where I literally break every single thing down that I've done and what I've been doing to show others how they can break into tech faster or scale to over $500,000 plus within their first few years in the tech industry as well. All you got to do, click the link in my bio. All the information's there. Check out the description. Message me if you have any other questions, and I'll see you on your journey scaling in tech. Now, what was your parents like? I'm curious. So you got in tech. So what was their reaction when they found out?
So when I got into tech, my parents thought I was lying.
Yeah.
They thought I was lying. They thought I was selling something. Because
I low-key hear like a Nigerian accent.
Yeah, literally. They're like, and it's funny because like, they're not direct about their disbelief.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay. Yeah. You're in tech now. Okay, yeah. Do your school now. Go school first, and then you can tech lit. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, like this is a discipline that would not it wasn't until last year that my parents fully believed I was doing what I was doing. And it was only because I joined the board. And they're like, okay, well, maybe he isn't lying. But before, the entire time I thought I was lying. Like literally like, and that's what also adds to the stress. 'Cause I did want to stress this to like, specifically for like, I guess whoever's in the comments or whoever's watching this, there's actually not a problem with feeling however you feel. You just have to do whatever you're doing in tandem with it. Like when you made the comment about taking a boot camp at a time to get into the SDR role and everything, I do want to stress to people that don't know, the level of mental tenacity it takes to do that is strong, because if you have days where you'll be crying by yourself and you're still doing the thing, you know? Like for you probably had days where you really didn't feel like doing it, because it's like you're not doing it off a guarantee. You're not guaranteed. You just feel like this is the only way to change how life is. You know what I'm saying?
That's literally what it was.
And that's why I tell people, like, that's the most realistic version of faith. It's like you get so bothered with what was bothering you to where you do any other way possible to improve your life. You know what I'm saying? And that's the part that like makes people successful, because if it's not for that part, then it'll be really easy to get complacent after the first part. But you know how that felt. And so literally the rest of our lives becomes aversion to that. Aversion to accepting that feeling that bothers us. So if it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, but I could do this, that bothers you more now because you knew what going against that feeling brought you. It brought you to here.
Yeah, that's
you
good.
know what I'm saying?
That's good.
And that's why, like, I feel like one thing I also did, I really wanted to commend you on, bro, for real, is that I think, and this is me assuming, but this is what I've taken from all the videos I've watched of you. I think the value that you add specifically to this forum is that you actually show what success looks like. Because a lot of people, rappers, entertainers, anybody, they show the products of success. But the success comes before the product. You know what I'm saying? And I can tell by even the reason why you wanted to produce content that in your heart and soul, there is a deeper ethos behind just producing the result. It's the process. You actually, like, you're taking time for all of that. He's taking time out of his day to day, you know what I'm saying, to do my interview and others. You know what I'm saying? Like that is significant, because most people don't have that work ethic because they don't see the value in the process. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, thank
you,
man.
If you understand the process, it builds, and that's why you have the community you have. That's why the results come. It's not about just doing the work. There's people that have a shorter mind frame that they get impatient because they said the work gives me this. So as long as if they work and they don't get this and whatever time they're waiting for it, they quit. You are in love with the process. It doesn't, you know what I mean?
That's real.
And that only comes from like who you are. There's a bunch of people who could take the same route you did and not make of it what you made of it. But the quality behind it is what makes you successful. It's an intangible.
Bro, thanks, man. Bro, I appreciate it for real. I do have to also say, and this kind of goes to another point that you mentioned about community, that of course everybody sees my face all the time, but you know, the Techist the New Black, we have an amazing team behind the scenes that keeps things running. Like the way I kind of think about it is that I know that if it was just all up to me, man, at this point we probably would only have maybe not even half the episodes we've had, and they definitely wouldn't have been as good. And even more, I probably would have taken like a lot of different random breaks and stuff in between. And so I definitely say kind of like a word of advice I'll give to people is to make sure that on your journey of you doing what you know God has called you to do, make sure that you are partnering up with other people that feel aligned with that same calling as well. And it's not even that everybody has to have the exact same role. Like, you know, Eric, who's here in the back, mean mugging me. I hear me mugging me. Eric, who's here in the back, Eric is a really good speaker, and really good speaker, really knowledgeable, has good conversation. And there have been a couple times where he was on the podcast, and then most times he's kind of like, man, I'm just cool, kind of just, being here behind the scenes doing my thing. Not to say he won't ever be back on again, but it's like also knowing that, hey, you partnering with people where they're aligned with the mission, but they know that their role in the mission is entirely different, just like the military. And I guess this kind of goes back to just as Black people, just across the entire diaspora, our perspective of the tech industry is very synonymous with how I feel like you got me talking smarter because you've been talking extra smart. I'm not synonymous. I'm using words. I'm like, hold on, let me pull out some words too. I'm like over here, like pretend like I'm looking at the questions. Really, I'm like looking up words. What's this word? But just like with the military, a lot of people hear, okay, you're going to the military, and they automatically think, oh man, you're gonna die, you're gonna get sent overseas. And it's like, yo, I'm a cook, or it's like, yo, I'm just a driver, or I'm just the supply person, like I'm admin. It's like people don't realize, yo, 80-90% of jobs in the military are, and I'm just saying it this way, they're supporting the killers.
Exactly.
It's like they support the unalivers. Let me say the unalivers. So YouTube don't demonetize. Eric, when you edit this, please cut out that. Oh my gosh. So but tech is the same way, where the majority of jobs in tech, like we think, oh, you gotta have to be an engineer, you know? And it's like, well, no, the majority of jobs in tech don't require you to have to code. Not saying it's not good to learn it, but it's like, yo, you don't have to do that. Absolutely. So you're in cybersecurity, you started out in help desk. What exactly is your role in cybersecurity now, and what does that role actually look like?
Yeah, so I'm a senior information security analyst, and like a lot of roles,
big dog.
It's very, very pretentious sounding. However, it's been a product of me kind of like learning through experience and navigating through like YouTube and Google and Reddit to learn skills outside of my day-to-day routine. And I think my career trajectory has been a huge product of how I handled the gatekeeping structure, because there's a lot of people that like really gatekeep a lot of very valuable information, intentionally and unintentionally. And so I learned that like your value in the workplace is a matter of discernment and not a matter of proclamation. It's not negotiating with my current boss to let him see what's evident in me. It's me seeing where I want to be and putting a time limit to how long I'll let somebody see it.
Ooh, that's crazy. Yo, that's really crazy. I've actually never heard of anybody putting it that way, to where it's like, yo, I'm not gonna just let it be in your hands.
Absolutely not.
This is what I want. This is also what I'm gonna work towards. And if you aren't going to come and collaborate with me to make that a possibility or make that a reality, then it's like, yo, I'm not. So what did that look like for you? Like, was it something to where when you did that your managers would kind of like align with you and be like, okay, cool, we see what you're doing? Or were there instances where they weren't aligned with you and you had to do something else?
It's never been a situation to where I've given them a conversation to acknowledge. It's always been a threshold kind of thing. So I call it the free agent principle. It's how I tell it. Like me and my boy Jay, that's how we normally talk about it. It's like, if you playing on a team and you know you a good player, you a baller football player, and you ain't getting the amount of touches that match your stats, you could go talk to the GM, but they saw your season too. You know what I'm saying? And they chose those reasons for their own reasons. Yeah. So it's a matter of, are you willing to spend more time in trying to make more evident, or do you feel like, no, I got like over 2,000 yards this season. If y'all don't see it, I know they do. And so I go over there, And so that's how I am. So for me, it's like, I'm patient enough to allow the decision makers to continue to make decisions of their own sovereignty. Because for me, if you don't ask, you don't care. Yeah. And I can't make you care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like dating. You know, if you're talking to somebody for a minute and then they ain't asking you no questions, they don't really give a crap about what you got going on. I'm not going to impress you. I'm not going to tell you how I'm doing. I'm going to be exactly what you think I am. I'm going to talk to somebody else.
Yeah. Yo, that's so real. What do y'all think about that? Because have any of y'all ever had an experience like what he's talking about, where you dating somebody and you're asking them questions, you're getting to know them, and it's like they're not really asking questions, or they do that cheap way of asking questions. Like you'll ask them a question and they just ask the same question back. It's like, come on, like,
right?
We're not gonna do this all day. Like I have to be original. I have to come up with things, and then you just get to be like, oh, well, what about you? Like,
exactly. Yeah. It's like, no, that's too dry.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yo, you just here just for a ride. You just here for some nice dates and some take pictures at a restaurant and your food and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, get out of here with all of that. That's why. Yeah, let us know if y'all have ever had any experiences like that, or let us know if you've been the person that would just ask the question back, and maybe you have a reason why that we just don't know about that actually justifies it. So now, we both served in the military. Myself, I served in the Marine Corps. You served in the Army. And you being in cybersecurity, and just with the advancements of everything that's happening with technology, machine learning, I'm curious, from your perspective, how do you see warfare happening in the near future when it comes to technology, or maybe even any type of like cyber hacks?
Yeah, there's so many vectors of threats that it's even hard to like pinpoint like it used to be, because now they're making advancements with quantum computing that can break conventional encryption, and then now like AI is being so massively marketed as this like SEO buzzword for any type of business innovation the last year. That there's more implementation than understanding. And so there's even just critical threats on just an understanding level. Like for everybody that's excited about it, it's very hard for people to specify what AI is to them. You know what I'm saying? What's AI? Productivity. In what sense? Well, if we have somebody making 3 of this, they can make 20. And it's like, so has your business been suffering because you have way too much demand? Is that really why?
No, that's not.
You know what I'm saying? And so like, so are we gonna have this like latency and understanding where people realize like doing more and doing quicker doesn't mean doing better? Man. And so like that caused, it's great for my field, because I see the cybersecurity issues like coming in abundance, but it's poor for the systems that we have in place. Like it takes less to be a greater cybersecurity threat due to just even large language models like ChatGPT. You don't have to actually even know how to code to architect a pretty good design that a script kiddie would make in like a couple months back in the day.
So you mentioned how this benefits you, and I believe you mean that from the space that it creates more threats, which when there's more threats in the market, then the value of those that can protect companies from those threats, being, cyber or security engineers, the value goes up for security engineers, and there's a greater need and demand for them. But so I get that part. But how does the rise of AI, machine learning, all of these different things, how does it pose a greater threat to where it creates a higher demand for security engineers?
Because it's all understanding on how the U.S. fiscal economy works. Like, I would argue that our biggest value as a country, as a gross domestic product, is the might of our military.
Yeah.
And the military is the strongest pipeline towards the advancement of technology for our country. You're more likely to run to someone who's military affiliated or adjacent entering this tech space than someone who isn't. And so because of this, we're using this to not only discern domestic threats, but international threats. And the money and the interest is piled into it because the U.S. spends more on military concerns than any other entity, causes this viability for issues. So it's like, just how there'll be crime for the police officers and there'll be wars for the soldiers, there will be threats for the cybersecurity factions. But the better part of it is that since it's a new discipline, there'll be less conversations about the significance of it. Because there's still entities, believe it or not, that still see cybersecurity as a negligible thing, like insurance. Like, do I really need it?
Wild.
But the more threats and the more directly adjacent they are to their business, the less explaining you have to do, and the better equipped an organization will be to make the fiscal reparations to have better solutions to handle these threats. Like, banks are doing an excellent job of actually seeing cybersecurity as a very critical entity. Some other, less system critical businesses are still arguing with it and wrestling with it.
Yeah.
But with the advent of these new types of threats, like just the idea of what it could do and damage at more than just a financial level, I think it's doing a better job of saying, okay, it's no longer about do we need, it's how do we use them now?
Yeah. Have you heard about, there have been conversations, I don't know if it was Congress or Senate, but there have been recent conversations about there potentially being a law that's passed in the future for small businesses where they'll be required to have some type of cybersecurity service, almost like an insurance. And this would even be, let's say it's a nail salon that, has a lot of clientele where on some way they have their clientele's information, maybe their clientele are paying with credit cards. Well, that nail salon will not have to pay, $500 or $1,000 or whatever a month to some cybersecurity company to be able to help them lower the risk of any threats or them being hacked. And so it's almost posing a threat to the small business owners that a lot of our community kind of runs after, because a lot of the black and brown community, really in particular black people, when most black people are like, oh, I'm gonna be a business owner, they're like, okay, I'm gonna be a lash tech, I'm gonna be a nail tech, I'm gonna be a barber. These fields, these industries that are good, they're necessary, they're important. Well, I don't know if a nail tech important. Barber's important. Nah, let me stop. Let me stop taking shots at them. I'm joking, ladies. But and those are fields where you can make enough money to take care of yourself, take care of your family. But those are not really fields where you're going to, the majority of the time where you're going to be, even yourself taking home 6 figures, definitely not 7 figures, unless you have a large chain of them or you're a celebrity barber or something like that. And so when I look at the potential of this law being passed, it's that alone, that paying something monthly like that could really eat so much out of these small businesses, where either the cost will get rolled over onto the client, and meaning the clients won't be able to afford, paying that uptick in fees or costs. And so I look at things like that, and it furthermore kind of makes me think man, more of us really need to just get in tech, or leverage technology in some kind of way and stop really leaning and relying on these industries, relying on them entirely. These spaces where it's it's just more and more things are being created, more threats are coming in to attack those smaller businesses. Yo, so some of the 2 most in demand and highest paying careers in the tech industry are tech sales as well as cybersecurity. Most people know that I'm a sales engineer, and most people also know that I always preach how amazing the cybersecurity field is, because you can make a huge bag and scale to over $500,000 in tech in either one of those spaces. Unfortunately, the biggest downside that hinders most people is that most sales engineering or cybersecurity programs cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Well, I have some really incredible news for y'all. I've recently partnered with Leveled Careers that offers both a cybersecurity course and a sales engineering course. Forget this, it's about to blow your mind. Each of their courses, with our discount code, is only $447. Yes, you heard that, $447. That's it. That is completely unheard of, completely unprecedented. The bootcamp I did cost me a little over $3,000. So I'm really excited for y'all to be able to take advantage of our discount code, Cyrus10, to be able to get 10% off of the cost of Leveled Careers and only have to pay $447 to begin your journey breaking into tech and sales engineering or any career in any of the various roles in the cybersecurity space. After you do that, make sure you keep us posted on your journey breaking into tech. What things do you know about that are just really within your expertise, just within your experience? What are some things that you know about that are either threats that most people aren't aware of, or maybe some things that might possibly be getting passed, or just some chatter that's going on?
Yeah, I think the one that I've told the most people about is the privacy concern that exists in the automobile space.
Okay.
Like Mozilla did a report, and the amount of information car manufacturers extract from your data is crazy. Just by being a casual driver with a Bluetooth connection, there is an incredible amount of information that manufacturers can establish from you and sell on your behalf.
Like what are some of the things I could think of? Some of them I could think, okay, if I don't know, address, because it knows where your home is.
It gets as niche as sexual activity and frequency. Crazy.
What? By you driving your car?
Yes.
All right, look, you got to explain that. How does driving in a car, how does the car company, even though with the technology, how is it able to understand someone's sexual activity? Like, how are they able to get that information?
A lot of it's connected to like how accessible you are to the devices around you. So most of us have phones.
Yeah.
And a lot of information is extracted from your phone and what it connects to. Man. So there's a lot of like background. If people don't, so I'm pretty sure like you might have had a Mercedes before, or whatever. Like,
my last car.
Just the high Mercedes feature.
Yeah,
crazy.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. It was
so convenient.
Right? Everything you talk to, it gets a lot. It gets a lot. Like so, and that's why I realized I was like, wow. So, and that's what makes it interesting for me. Like, I like seeing how threat actors work to gauge my research. Because learning how something is supposed to work is nice, but it doesn't intrigue me the way it does when I see somebody pervert something and then understand like how they did that. Just with like cars being able to be like, keyless in a sense. Like just being able to get a device that can like refract the signal so that you can basically steal somebody's car without actually having the key. That's crazy.
Wild.
So like learning small things like that and the small the niches of metadata. Like it doesn't have to be explicit as you giving that data particularly, but how advanced the back end is in making recognitions and affiliations and patterns over time. It can infer a crazy amount of you to make a digital profile.
Can you explain to people really quickly, what is metadata?
Metadata, the way I say it to my mom, is it's like the background information that goes into an electronic correspondence. So if it's like if it was a physical conversation, right? The metadata for this conversation is our body language.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the transcription would be what we say.
Okay.
The metadata would be the tone, the background noise, the movements, and that would be like kind of like background knowledge for our brain.
Yeah.
Likewise for how data is transferred online.
Okay.
So like, you could just say like, oh, I am going to send an email. And the subject of the email is what you think you're sending, but you're sending your location, you're sending your tone of speech. Because some of us speak in unique tones, even like tangibly. Like the way we talk naturally versus like how we talk formally, it catches that deviation. The frequency in which we send messages and the times we send those messages, from what IP address and what it's talking to as you're doing that. Yeah. So there's like a lot of background data that builds your digital profile. So it's like, we can tell the difference between Cyrus or his friend, because when Cyrus picks up his phone, it's this high off the ground versus when his friend does, it's this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gets, and biometrics adds to that.
That is wild. It's crazy how the more technology we create, the more threats we are created simultaneously.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like we cheer for like new technology where it's like, oh, wow, now I have this new convenience. But it sounds like hackers and bad actors are just like, oh, wow, thank you. This new technology provides me a new opportunity to hack you.
Like identity crises became so much more advanced with the advancement in AI and facial recognition.
Yeah.
Like before, it took a little bit more mastery and ingenuity to try and like become an imposter for someone's identity.
Yeah.
Now, I could just, shoot. There's a couple pictures of Cyrus here. Let me say like, oh yeah, boom, boom, boom. Man, make him look like he's wearing this and this background. Let me put it on this ID.
Dang.
I got his social already. You know what I'm saying?
The whole time we thinking the facial ID protecting us more. It's like you try to just create more.
It gets more and more advanced, you know? So it's like, and that's the thing. And then people come to us in cybersecurity like, because there's a threat, we automatically have a viable solution. And it's like, no, we could tell you the threat you're endorsing, but you have to choose to open Pandora's box.
Dang. So every time when companies create something new, it's literally almost like them kind of like, you know, kind of like crossing their fingers and just being like, okay, hopefully this doesn't like bring everything down.
Literally. And what sucks is when it comes to finances, people are so willing to sacrifice time they don't understand. Because it's like with the COVID vaccine. It's like, for what we need now, we'll do it. We'll see the consequence later.
That's the truth. Man, that is the truth.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's so wild. Man. All right, bro. So we talked a little bit about relationships a minute ago. Because you've been in tech for how long now?
About 3 going on 4 years.
Okay, 3 going on 4 years. All right, so recent enough that you haven't been in tech that you can probably describe what the experience was like dating before you were in tech versus after.
Yeah.
First off, just like,
that's a spicy.
Has it shifted things in terms of
Tremendously.
dating? Yeah.
Tremendously, because let me see how I could say this most appropriately. You know who you are exclusively the more you get into a different form. You know, so it's like a lot of people describe themselves by what they do, or what they provide. And to a lot of people, that's all they can get off of you.
Yeah.
So if they understand you to be something it's already rare what you do, and it's already rare what you provide, it's really challenging to fight that bias and then establish who you were before all of that. So like, if you're like The Rock, it's really hard to tell people, I wasn't always this big. I wasn't always, everything in their mind about that is what you are now.
Yeah.
You know, and so for dating, a lot of people date in this space with that discernment, because I'll be real, I can't even tell people what I do. I can't tell people what I make. You know what I'm saying? I have to really play it as humbly as possible, and traveling helps, but it's really about trying to be as discreet as possible.
Yeah.
To gauge people's intentions over time. Like, I was way less patient before when I was dating than after tech. Now I'm more patient because I want to see if you know who I am, or you know what my brand is. You know? Yeah. Man,
that's so interesting. Man, I want to know, both from the fellas and the ladies, let us know in the comments. Ladies, would you be okay dating a guy for a period of time? Let's give it the 90-day rule. But no, would you be okay dating a man for a period of time where you don't necessarily know what he does? Like, you can tell, okay, as long as what he's doing is legal, you know, he's taking care of himself, you know, he's able to take me on dates, things like that. Would you be fine doing that? Or would you not be cool doing it? Again, it's not a right or wrong answer. Just really want to know, like, your perspective and why. Also, for the fellas, how do y'all feel about this? Are any of y'all doing the same thing, or any of y'all that are aspiring or working towards getting in tech? Are you like, yeah, man, I'm gonna have to move the same way? Or are you the opposite? You like, nah, man, I'm gonna let the honeys know, like, hey, look, your boy, I'm a high value man. but no, for real, let us know, because we're definitely curious about it. So that's fine, bro. Now, look, a lot of men today are becoming soft. Yeah. Like, just straight up. Like, we see women are becoming more and more masculine, and, you know, of course, we don't think it's not by coincidence. It's definitely by nefarious design. There I go, trying to use some big words again. But it's definitely by design to encourage the women to be more masculine, encourage the men to be more feminine, and a variety of other things. And I'm not going to get too conspiracy theory as to who it is. Obviously, it's people that are in power, but behind those people is demonic forces that's influencing these things. We know that. And in the midst of that, what I wanted to ask you about is, so you are a black belt in Taekwondo, so the muscles ain't just for show. You're a black belt in Taekwondo. How has being a black belt in Taekwondo, or you being like, you know, physically capable, how has that affected your mental, and how has that affected other areas of your life? Like, and really the reason why I ask, because I don't want to just sound like just an interesting question. I ask this because I believe there's a benefit for men to be physically capable. And many of them just think like, well, you know, I'm not violent, I'm not getting into anything, but I think many men might be missing out on the other benefits of being physically capable.
Absolutely. It's a threat deterrent. Okay. A lot of people who would lurk for a victim tend to go for things that they perceive as weaker.
Yeah.
So being in shape does help. But from being shot at, bro, I realized that discernment's the most resilient part of a masculine person.
Oh, that's good.
Because more important than having the last minute resort tool is avoiding the last minute situation.
Okay.
You know, when I was in Killeen in Fort Hood, getting shot at was scary as hell. I never got shot at before. I'm a middle class kid and never really was in no gangs or nothing, so I was really chill. But having an argument go to that immediately, to where I'm getting shot at for the first time in my life, scared me. And I don't care how long you work out, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, so it was more so about not letting your pride kind of lead you into a situation. Mm-hmm. If you have enough humility to know what you could do, being wise with that. Same thing with money. It's like some people make money and they understand that everything ain't for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so they're treated as they are because people don't know them for what they could do.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So if it's like, oh shoot, Cyrus is $1 million. Okay, let's hit a lick on Cyrus. Let's act like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But they can only do that knowing if you have that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of my life has been covert because I've seen the consequences of expecting people to feel how you feel, of expecting people to understand what you understand. And so I'm much more like a show your hand first kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And so I realized me being in shape helps to that, because there's a level of discipline it takes to keep and maintain a decent amount of physique. And then there's a level of discipline with how you handle altercations. Outside of the time I got jumped and outside of that shootout situation, I'm very passive. To the point where people are kind of surprised when they hear it, you know. Mm-hmm. But I'm also very capable. But it helps because people don't expect it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So really enough, I got jumped when I was going to school in South Carolina.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
I was going to the gas station. I was coming back, and there was these 2 kids from other college that tried to hit me. I knocked the one dude out, and the dude ran away. Yeah. And so that scared the heck out of me, because I never knocked somebody out before, so I thought I might have killed him or something. So I reported to the campus police and everything. But that was when I had an understanding of discernment. If they would have known that I had that capability, they probably wouldn't have gone the hand route. They probably would have came with a weapon. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
then I would have been, So I learned it's better to have that element of surprise. Yeah. Stay in shape for the moment when you need it, and hopefully you make decisions to where you rarely need it, like a parachute. Mm-hmm. You don't want a parachute on your carry-on because you don't want the plane to go down. Yeah. So I don't want to keep a strap on my person because I want to be in areas where I could live as a way that my kids could live. Yeah.
In the Black American community, one of the things that we talk about often, I don't want to say it comes up too much, but it's a very recurring conversation, is, and it's actually a false belief that we still hold to. And the belief is that, it's constantly brought up about, white people, or white people being at the top of the financial pecking order, and black people being at the bottom. And I actually looked this up recently, and first I actually saw a white man on social media, this white dude, he kind of actually pulled up a list, and I ended up looking at the list on Google and was, oh, this is legitimate, he didn't make this up, but he actually did a top 10 list of earners in America. What's interesting is that on the list, white people aren't number 1, they're actually closer to about number 6 or number 7 on the list in America. And of course, it says black people are at the bottom of the list, but I did a little bit of digging and I realized the list didn't highlight different types of black people. And so like it highlighted different types of Asians, like it highlighted Chinese, Japanese, and Indian. And Indian essentially are Asians because it's all a part of Asia. And Indians, it listed Indians as the #1 earners in America.
I know they're gonna do that. Yeah.
It listed Japanese was, I believe, roughly number 4. Chinese was number 5. And it didn't list any of any other black countries, or like it didn't list Nigerian or Liberian or South African or anything like that. So I went ahead and did some research. I actually found out if they actually included Nigerians on there, Nigerian Americans actually out-earn Chinese Americans on average.
Yeah.
They sit in between Japanese Americans and Chinese Americans. Liberian Americans, if they actually added them to the list, they're actually the #1 earners in America.
Crazy.
And bro, this junk blew my mind. I'm actually gonna do a post about this soon. And the reason why I bring this up is because I believe our Nigerian American brothers and sisters and Liberians and other people that are from different parts of Africa that have, going back to what you said at the very beginning, because of the parenting, the parents say, hey, you know, engineering or medical, like be a doctor, or now many of the parents are saying, hey, go after tech. It's shifting the market when it comes to the communities. And the reason why I bring this up is really to kind of communicate it to the black American community that thinks, oh man, like there's no way we could ever be at this level, or that believing that, okay, there's a certain white group that's holding us down. And it's like, well, the reality of it is they're not even number 5. They're not even in the top 5.
Exactly.
So it's like, I kind of bring it up like, okay, well, at this point, who's holding us down? And it's like, if our own black brothers and sisters, and we could dive into, there are things that black Americans have faced that our brothers and sisters in Africa have not faced. There's other things that we've dealt with. So there's other variables at play. Nevertheless, I do believe that a lot of our brothers and sisters directly from Africa or first generation are really showing us, hey, look, if we decide to come together and focus on really high paying careers, there are amazing opportunities and things that we can do to where we can rise to the top and do some incredible things. What word of advice would you give to, because I mean, because you weren't born in Nigeria, were you? Okay, cool. So you're first generation. Yeah. So within your experience from one, your household, but then 2, you still growing up, you know, in basically America, and growing up in America seen as a black man, what is some advice that you would give people in terms of really becoming successful in the face of racism that's real, in the face of gatekeepers, in the face of, you know, just everything that you've experienced?
For me, I realized like the theme between successful people I see is like you'll only be as successful as you are specific.
Okay.
Because if you're specific about what the problem is, you can get a specific solution. So if it's like, oh, there's a pay gap between men and women.
Yeah.
So specifically, what is the distinction? Is it like you're seeing the ads listed differently? Or is it that you're not choosing the fields that would pay you more?
Yeah.
Like you have to discern that for yourself. I feel like anybody who could see the situation specifically knows. It's like, oh, I want to start a podcast. Specifically, what would that look like? Are you going to get a loan to get the equipment to get a team? Or are you going to work under someone who's already established? You have to be specific. Because if everybody's situation, like black is just a color. Black doesn't describe anybody. White, just a color. You know, everybody that we call white are people that we're just choosing to ignore where they're really from. Because it could be Italian, German, Polish, Austrian. Black could be Dominican, Algerian, Liberian, Nigerian. You know, so you have to be specific about who you are, specific about what your problem is to get the specific solution. But if you use generics, you're trying to make yourself comfortable with where you're at. Like, oh, the problem is somebody holding me down somehow, and it's just not fair. And it's like, you're comfortable not being specific about that.
Dang.
But if you're specific, I promise you'll find a way out, because then you'll know exactly what you're looking for.